A Korean true story from an auto salesperson. A salt farm tale you'll end up listening to with bated breath. This happened back when I was traveling around the countryside as a salesperson for specialty vehicles. My area was the Chungcheong region, and every day I drove all over different towns. When your job is non-stop meeting people, you end up wanting to spend even your days off alone and in peace. With summer vacation coming up, I casually said, "I want to go on a solo fishing trip." Then someone I knew said, "I'll introduce you to an island where there's nobody around." At first I thought they were joking, but they made a call right then and there, and we even set the dates on the spot. The night before I left, even as I packed my gear, something deep in my chest just wouldn't settle. The next morning, when I was about to head out, my shoelaces, ones that shouldn't have come undone, were undone, and the air conditioner, which I was sure I'd turned off before sleeping, was on. Thinking, something feels off today, I still ended up leaving anyway. When I arrived at the dock we'd agreed on, a small fishing boat was waiting. Once I got on and we headed out to sea, the land slowly drifting away felt strangely unreal. Even after we'd traveled quite a while, it was still close enough that the silhouette of the land never completely disappeared. Before long, a small island came into view, and I thought, so this is where I'll be today. The boatman said, "I'll come pick you up in 3 days," and left me there on the island. I'd been told only 3 households lived on the island. The houses were small and quiet, and the people didn't talk much. As soon as I unpacked, I headed down to the shore and cast my line. At first, all I could hear was the wind, and that silence actually felt comforting. After a while, I got an unbelievably strong bite. I hauled it up with everything I had, and a big fish ended up in my net. In that instant, the thought flashed through my mind. Why does this look like a freshwater fish in the sea? I looked into the net again, and my spine went cold. Where the fish should have been, something pale, like a human face, seemed to be floating there. Just as terror made my knees give out, I woke up from the dream. The rod was set down beside me, and it seemed I must have dozed off right there. All I could think was, things have felt off since this morning, and even my dream was strange. When night came, I went back to the house, was treated to a meal, forced a smile, and got through the day. The next morning, someone woke me up, but my body felt so heavy I could barely even open my eyes. The person said, "There's a small salt farm, let's go take a look." On one side of the island, there really was a tiny salt farm, and the damp air mixed with the smell of salt made it hard to breathe. I pretended to help a little, but little by little, I couldn't stand it anymore. After I ate lunch and lay down for a bit, the dreams wouldn't stop. After a string of dreams that made no sense, a man in tattered clothes appeared. He told me, "Get out of here. This isn't a place you should be." When I woke up, the me who'd been by the salt farm was now laid down inside the house. When I asked, "How did I get here?" they brushed it off like it was nothing. That night, I looked up at the star-filled sky and tried to calm myself down. But when I fell asleep, the dreams came rushing back, and even after waking up, my head wouldn't clear. Even though the day I was supposed to leave the island was getting close, I gradually stopped being able to tell whether I was dreaming or awake. While I was fishing, I drifted off to sleep again, and that man in tattered clothes appeared once more. He said, "Get out of here somehow, and if you're curious, go look at the backside of the island." When I woke up, it was already evening, and I started to panic. The words, "I'll come in 3 days," suddenly felt real, and I was stranded there, unable to move, completely alone. I was constantly drowsy. My mind was foggy, and it felt like the entire island was trapping me. That night, I walked out to check the backside the man had mentioned in my dream. After crossing what felt like a small hill, I came to an empty stretch of land where there was almost no sign of people. Old wreckage-like debris was scattered around, and on the ground, I could even see fragments of old bones. And then, something small, strangely gleaming, caught my eye. It was a fragment of a tooth that didn't look like an animal's at all. It looked disturbingly like it was human. My mind went completely blank, and of all times, my phone had no signal, and the battery was almost dead. I hurried back to the house and checked the date on my wristwatch. I thought it was my 4th day on the island, but the watch showed that more than a week had already passed. In that moment, I was sure of it. This isn't just an illusion from being tired. Even when I sat at the table, the way they kept urging me to drink water felt even more ominous. So that day, I refused the water and carefully asked, "How many days have I been here?" They answered casually, "About 4 days." When I said, "That can't be," the person suddenly let out a laugh, and then, in a low voice, they said, "Shall we switch to the faster way soon?" What came next happened in the blink of an eye. They kept insisting I drink something. Then my body suddenly went limp, and a white fog started filling my mind. From the next day on, and all that followed was endless, mindless labor. I was made to keep working. When one task ended, they made me do another. And the same cycle repeated over and over. Before I knew it, even the sense of, where am I, and what am I doing right now, began to blur. When I came to, I was sprawled inside a small makeshift shack beside the work site. Bags were piled up around me, and a few tools were scattered across the floor. The moment I saw that, for some reason, my mind snapped into focus, just for an instant. This is my only chance, I thought. After a while, those 3 people came in again, and I took one deep breath, just once. Then I jolted upright all at once and fought desperately to break out of that place. In that moment alone, my urge to live was stronger than my fear. 2 people. I went with the remaining 1. I got on the boat with that man. I'd never handled a boat before, and I didn't even know the direction to go, so with only short words I kept repeating, "Go back to where we came from." The closer the shadow of the land got, the more dazed I became, like I might black out again. Even so, thinking, if I let it cut out here, it's over. I clung to my awareness with everything I had. At last, when we reached the area near the dock where I'd first set out, then I ran the boat up onto the shore, jumped off, and sprinted to my car. In that moment, I honestly think I was the calmest I've ever been in my life. I opened the door, started the engine, and got away. On the verge of blacking out, I stood there blankly for a while in front of my mother's front door. When I saw my reflection in the mirror by the front door, my breath stopped. Just like that man in tattered clothes from my dream, my own clothes were a filthy, shredded mess. In that instant, I understood. Maybe that man wasn't a ghost, but the last warning that had been left for me. I went to both the hospital and the police, but things didn't move forward at all. Surprisingly so. All that did grow stronger was this feeling. This is something you're not supposed to touch. In the end, I quit my job and left that area completely. Much later, I saw something similar. My grandmother, in the early stages of dementia, was on medication that caused symptoms like not being able to tell dreams from reality. That's when I thought the hazy, foggy feeling I had on the island might not have been just exhaustion. Much later, I saw a news story about the secret of the people working at the salt farm. The moment I saw it, I got goosebumps, because I was certain. If I'd stayed there a little longer, I would have ended up the same. Even now, I still don't know where that island was, but there's one thing I know for sure. In the end, what's truly frightening isn't ghosts, it's people.